I would say it's been about 2 weeks from the time that I heard we should all be buying oil stocks. Now we are on a new topic. The new topic is housing market is about to crash and we are going into recession. Mortgage rates are going up. Armageddon right around the corner. So this is what we're going to cover in this video. If you're new to this channel, my name is Mariusz Konieczny. I run Microcap Explosions, a website dedicated to microcap stocks which are ignored and underfollowed by the investment industry. I also wrote about 10 books on investing, one of which is available for a free download at microcapexplosions.com. Also, I created valueinvestinguniversity.com to make you a more intelligent investor. All right, so what's in the news nowadays? 2 weeks ago, it was buying oil stocks. Today, we are reading about the next housing crash, the next recession. Mortgage rates are going up. The stock market is going to sell off. We're entering a recession. This is what we need to worry about today. And what kind of impact is this going to have on something like Voxtur? I'm getting a lot of comments about things like this. So let's talk about the housing market. Okay, as you know, 2008-2009 financial crisis was caused by the crash in the housing market. So now, with the mortgage rates going up because the Fed is raising interest rates, some pundits are coming out and predicting the next housing crash and how this is going to create the next recession. And of course, the stock market is going to sell off. Even though the stock market already sold off, it's going to sell off some more. Now, I want to give you an illustration of how interest rates impact the housing prices. Okay? So let's go ahead. Let's head over to my screen. Okay, here is a mortgage calculator. So what I want to do is I want to show you something. I bought a house few years ago for $140,000, okay? And the interest rate at that point was about 3.5, okay? So based on this, what I'm paying as a mortgage payment is $630 per month. But I'm not including taxes and anything. It's a little bit more, but this is what it costs me per month to buy my house for $140, okay? And then the price of the house now increased to about $240, okay? Why did it increase? Well, the pandemic, the labor shortages, inventory shortages, the price of everything went up. So the price of my house now, Zillow is telling me it's worth $240. But one of the big reasons why my house went up like this is because of the low interest rates, okay? Because let's go back again to 140 for a second. When interest rates were 3.5, this kind of monthly payment allowed me to afford $140,000. If the interest rate, instead of 340, was about what it is right now, 550, instead of paying $630 and being able to afford this, now I have to pay almost $800 to be able to afford the same kind of house, right? So how much would the 630 allow me to afford? Well, let's keep changing this number. Okay, so if during the time when I was buying my house, if the interest rates were at 550,
my 630 or 625 mortgage payment would have only allowed me to buy $110,000. And I'm ignoring the down payment and all that. But because interest rates were at 350 at that time, I was able to afford to buy a more expensive house. In other words, the level of interest rates causes the house prices to go up, because if the interest rates are lower, more people are able to afford homes and more people can bid on particular homes, and this drives housing prices, right? Okay, let's go back to the 140 example again. Okay, this is again what I entered. Now, because the price of my house went up to 240 and interest rates stayed at this level for quite some time, that low level of interest rates increased my price, along with other factors, to about 240, right? And now somebody else who's buying my house for 240 now has to pay almost $1,100 for the same house that I only had to pay $630 per month, right? And now what happens is that interest rates go to 550. The same house now costs a person over $1,300 to buy per month. Okay? So this is double. To buy the same house, somebody has to pay double because now interest rates went up to higher level, right? So, of course, there's going to be less people being able to afford my kind of house, everything else being equal, right? So if we go to 350 again, at what level would my house have to be priced at in order to somebody to still being able to afford it for about 1,100? Forget about the 630 that I was able to buy it for 1,100, assuming the interest rates are at 5.5. Okay, let's reduce the price to 190. So the value of my house would have to go down from 240 to 190 in order for somebody to be able to afford to buy it for $1,100 with the current interest rates. So that's how interest rates and affordability can cause prices of homes to go up and down. And at this rate, what price would the house have to decline to in order for the buyer to be able to afford it for 630 like I did? Let's try 100. 110. So now the price of my house would have to go down from 240,000 to 110 in order for the current buyer to be able to buy it for the same price that I bought it for, assuming that kind of interest rates.
Okay, so as you can see, the interest rate levels or the mortgage rate levels have an impact on the prices of real estate. So because the Fed kept their interest rates so low for so long, and because we got the pandemic, and because we have supply chain disruptions, because we have labor shortages, because we had the government paying people not to work, and then also because we had low inventory levels, the prices of homes went up. okay? And when interest rates were low, people were able to afford bigger home for the same amount of monthly payment. So now people are afraid that the interest rates going up will cause the housing prices to go down. What is the alternative? Is the alternative to continue making real estate prices more and more expensive and less affordable? Is this good for the economy? In a short term, it feels great, but I don't think it's great for the economy. And the housing prices went up too much, too fast, and I think it's time for them to cool off. And you see, people view interest rates levels or high interest rate levels as something negative for the economy. Maybe in the short term, it can be negative, but high interest rates are fantastic for the economy because during low interest rates, people make dumb decisions about money. Businesses that shouldn't be started get started because money is cheap. Real estate that should never be built gets built because of cheap money. People buy luxurious things because of cheap money. And then this artificially inflates the economy. That's why we really have bubble economies, because of these kinds of factors. So recessions are a good thing for the economy because recessions are time to heal. Recessions bring out the bad decisions, bad capital allocations, and it's a process of healing. But people are afraid of recessions. Recessions are necessary for the recovery. If you only have growth, and you never have recessions, that's not healthy for the economy. So while everybody is panicking about the housing crash, I think that we need higher interest rates. I think that we need housing prices to cool off because, aren't we trying to fight the inflation here? Aren't we? Isn't it better for people when they can afford their homes so that then they can also afford other things in the economy? Yeah, I understand that in the short term, the people that bought at a peak and when the prices of their homes go down, they're underwater, and then the wealth effect it turns negative because people feel less wealthy, they're going to spend more money. But the alternative is that you continue to keep blowing bubble into the economy and keep artificially inflating it. At some point, it has to pop. So, but here's the thing. For us, of course, we want to know how something like this would impact Voxtur, and that's the questions that I get all the time. So let's think about this for a second. What kind of business segments Voxtur is involved in? Tax assessment business, appraisal, title, and foreclosures. And then there will be other business sectors that I'm not listing here. Are the governments, local governments, are they going to stop requiring you and I to pay real estate taxes? I think they're going to be requiring that. I think you know the answer to this. So the tax assessment business is not really going to get impacted by where the housing prices are, okay? Yeah, maybe the level of taxes are going to get impacted a little bit, but overall, they need to collect revenues. And real estate taxes is their main revenue contributor. the appraisal side, or appraisal and title kind of together because they're based on volume, right? So the main sources of transactions in real estate, you have purchase transactions and refinances. So when interest rates go up, of course, there's fewer refinancing transactions. Also, when interest rates go up, you will have fewer sales, okay? But how is that going to impact Voxtur? If Voxtur was a stabilized company, like a mature company that had a particular market share, and if the transactions go down, it would impact its revenues. But Voxtur is entering that space. It is revolutionizing this space. It's a new kid on the block. Voxtur is gaining clients faster than any sort of decline that's going to happen in the appraisal or the title side. But also think about this. If you're a bank and interest rates are low and then transactions are like booming, they're booming, you don't have time to breathe. Are you going to be inclined to really take a look at your inefficiencies in software in order to speed up the process? You can barely take a bathroom break. The transactions are happening so fast. So for you to, implement new technology is happening, but it takes a little bit more convincing for you to be like, yeah, I need to be on a platform because I want my transactions to be, more affordable, more efficient. That's maybe secondary thought. But then when interest rates go up and the number of transactions slow down and it becomes more expensive from the point of view of a monthly payment to buy a house, then you're more likely going to look for ways on how can I increase my volume, which slow down. And how can you increase the volume? Well, by being more efficient, by having lower closing costs, lower appraisal costs. So you go to the user and you're like, yes, your monthly payment is this, but hey, your closing costs are going to be lower. Your appraisal costs are going to be lower. They're going to be even more incentivized to jump on what Voxtur is offering in a situation like this. And now, what about the foreclosure business? I've talked about the foreclosure business before, that in 2019, before the pandemic, the foreclosure business was doing about $100 million US of sales and about 20 million US of EBITDA. And then the foreclosures where the moratorium came and that business went to zero. Well, now foreclosures are going back up. And do you think there will be more foreclosures when interest rates are higher, or less foreclosures where interest rates are higher? I think the answer is obvious. There will be more foreclosures when interest rates are higher, because when interest rates are higher, the payments are higher. Higher payments make it more difficult for people to make those payments and more likelihood of them defaulting. Also, when interest rates are higher and then the prices of house prices have to come down to adjust more for the affordability factor, more people are going to be underwater, more people are going to not want to make the mortgage payments, more people will want to hand over the keys to their house to the bank. This will have more foreclosures. So Voxtur's foreclosure business is going to be doing very well in an environment like this. So yes, if Voxtur was a stabilized company with a stable market share, then the appraisal and the title side would be negatively impacted. But in this environment, when Voxtur's solution is the hottest solution on the market, I don't think a decline in the home prices or decline in the real estate activity is going to have significant impact on its business. But also, here's another thing that we have to think about is that what do you think is going to happen when the Fed continues to increase interest rates and the cost of money on mortgages and everything else is going to go up? It's going to create recession, or it's going to get us closer to recession, or it's going to create a fear of recession, which, as I said before, I view recessions as good, as a healing process, but that's not what the stock market thinks. That's not what the Fed thinks. The Fed doesn't ever want slowdowns. The Fed doesn't ever want recessions. And that's why the Fed is trapped, because as the Fed is raising interest rates to fight inflation, at the same time is causing the economy to slip into recession. Now, what do you think they're going to do when they see more and more signs of recession? They're going to stimulate again. So they're going to be like, you know what? We can't allow the recession to happen. We're going to stimulate again. And how do they stimulate? They lower interest rates. And I don't like the fact that they're going to do this, but I can already see this. 6, 8 months down the road, they're going to lower interest rates to stimulate, not to prevent the economies to go into recession. And what's that going to do? That's going to make the real estate transactions more affordable again. So the housing prices are going to start going up again. The wealth effect is going to start improving the economy, improving the bubble economy. And then the refinancing is going to start again, which means more transactions will happen. And that's going to happen at the time when Voxtur is continuing to increase its market share in the real estate transactions, while at the same time, the entire pie of the transactions is going to start increasing again. So in summary, that's how I view the entire situation. The housing prices talk right now, it's exciting, it creates views, it makes people fearful. What's new? In 3 weeks, they're going to talk about something else. So for this video, that's it. Subscribe, click on the notification button, leave me a comment. Help this channel grow, because Google algorithm likes people's engagement, which means subscribing, notification button, commenting, and all that sort of stuff. So thanks for watching.